Today, we're going to teach you how to remove rust and repaint your frame. One of the things I want to focus on before this big trip this summer is getting this back to like factory condition. Came from the East Coast, there's a little bit of rust, and that's what I'm going to be cleaning up today. So as I dive under to the rear of the truck, I've already removed the spare, so you guys can kind of get an idea. It's not too bad. Like, you know, I've done the axle, for example, is in pretty good condition. But then when you look up here to like the spare tire mount, not so good. And then the other kind of bad spots, let's see, gonna be up here where the hitch mounts to the frame. A little bit rusty, where the leaves, the shackles mount, a little bit rusty. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this up. Like even if I come over here, you'll notice a little bit rusty. So I'll show you guys some close-ups of what all the rust looks like. And yeah, I'm a little OCD, but let's go ahead and get her all fixed up. First step is always going to be removing rust. You can use these bristle attachments for a drill or get some simple brushes. I like to use a combination of both. Second step is going to be degreasing. I like to use this Purple Power stuff, some gloves and a brush. And then once that's done, you're going to want to pressure wash the entire frame and all the metal parts. Today is a little bit unique. I'm mounting a larger tire in my vehicle, so I had to make some modifications to the cross little subframe thing in the back. And then I'm also changing out a rusty old part. So this is my spare tire hoist, and it's just too rusty to restore. I'd rather just get a brand new OEM one and then reuse the existing bolts. And then last but not least is going to be rust converter and primer, and then using a little bit of Steel It and getting it done. So 5-step process. Let's keep it going. We just finished the first 3 steps, which was number 1, removing the rust, number 2, using degreaser, and then number 3 was pressure washing and using some soapy water to get off all the grit and grime. For this next step, what we're going to be doing is using a rust converter and primer. Once that's been applied and cures for about 48 hours, we'll then be using a layer or 2 of Steel It across all parts of the frame where there was rust and other parts I just want to add a clean coat. And then in some areas of the truck as well, we'll also be adding a little bit of fluid film, which creates this waterproof layer on top of some of the metal components. And so these are the main materials I'm using. In terms of some of the tools and other materials, we got these acid brushes from Harbor Freight. They're about $1 for 20. I like to use a small container to transfer the paint because even though this is water-based and there's no solvents, it still stains. I actually stained my driveway once. And then we use a little bit of painter's tape in area or some plastic or cardboard to cover, and a little bit of heavy-duty paper towel. One thing I do want to talk about really quick is why do I use this converter and primer? So I have used Pour 15 in the past, and it's great, but Pour 15 literally means paint over rust. And even though you can paint over rust, if there's still any rust underneath, it will cause flaking, or if there's any moisture. And so it's a great, it's a great product, but I prefer to, just in case if there is rust, turn that into a better paint adhering layer. And so there's some cool stats and specs about this. I'll put this in the description, but I like to use a converter and primer and then Steel It on top. Steel It's a great product. And yeah, so let's get on with the install. and get under the frame, and let's get started. All right, so we're just gonna start back here from this trailer hitch, and wherever we see any of that rust, we're just gonna start to cover it up with this rust converter primer, and we're gonna be generous with it. Wherever I see anything, I'm just gonna give it a little coat. So yeah, like I said, I already used this stuff in the front, and after about 6 months or so, it's worked pretty good. So pretty excited, and like I said, Steel It is a great product, and on top it's worked pretty well. So let's just work our way through this, just like a Bob Ross painting, except a lot easier. Alright, so I just started the painting process. I kind of missed a before shot, but I'm gonna creep under the truck, just kind of give you guys a nice little preview. So you can see all the red is essentially where there's still a bunch of that rust converter, but up above me, I've gotten started with the Steel It. So I shouldn't be under here for too long without a mask. I could feel the solvents. But yeah, it's looking super good. I mean, damn, that looks like OEM, So pretty stoked. Gonna keep working through the paint, and then I'll do like a full before and after for you guys.
Okay, it's the grand finale. Everything's been done. I've already done all the steps, and now we're just removing some of these final touches. So I used a bunch of scraps, obviously, to prevent any paint getting all over the truck. I shoved a little trash bag back here to make sure there's no underspray. And yeah, now we're just gonna slowly get rid of all this stuff. It's kind of ASMR satisfying.
The hitch is done and the rest of the truck is done. So this is my second layer of Steel It. Everything's looking pretty good. The converter primer had 2 days to dry out and prepare, and you can see everything is pretty blacked out under here. Tomorrow I'll be installing that spare tire carrier up here and putting in a 35-inch tire. I had to cut off the factory mounts right there, which I'll show you guys some scrap. You saw some of that earlier on. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Do some fluid film on top of some of the parts, and pretty stoked on how it turned out.